The crack echoed through the bedroom before Rhiannon felt the pain. Garrett's fist connected with her jaw, and suddenly she was tasting metal, stumbling backward into the dresser. The mirror behind her splintered, a spider web of fractures spreading across her own reflection. "You think you're so smart?" Garrett's voice shook with rage. "Standing there at my event, letting that doctor talk to you like you're somebody important? Making me look like a fool who doesn't even know his own wife." Blood dripped from Rhiannon's lip onto the white carpet. She pressed her fingers to her mouth, pulled them away, red. Something cold settled in her chest, not fear. Clarity. She smiled. "What the hell are you smiling at?" Garrett stepped back, confusion flickering across his face. Rhiannon walked to the nightstand. Her movements were calm, deliberate. She opened the drawer, pulled out her phone. "Rhiannon, where are you going?" "I'm still talking to you." She held up one finger. He went silent. The first call lasted 5 seconds. "Terrence? Do it." Garrett's face drained of color. "Do what?" "Rhiannon, what are you?" She ended the call. Dialed again. "Simone?" He hit me. "I need the papers drawn up tonight. Everything." "Who the hell are you calling?" Garrett's voice cracked. "Answer me." Third call. "Keisha? That Medi-Supply contract with Pierce Pharma? I need you to pull it. Effective immediately." She hung up, turned to face her husband. Really looked at him for the first time in years. "Tomorrow morning," she said quietly, "you're going to wake up and discover who I actually am. And by tomorrow night, Garrett, you'll regret it all. Sleep well." She walked to the guest room, locked the door. Garrett stood alone in their bedroom, staring at 3 drops of blood on white carpet, still trying to understand what just happened. He had no idea he was already dead. Hi, my wonderful friends. Welcome to Mr. William Chronicles, where powerful stories reveal life's deepest truths. Before we dive into Rhiannon's story, I want you to help me prove something wrong. Some people claim that this channel will not grow, that people will not listen to these stories. But I believe these stories deserve to be heard. Help me show them that these tales matter. So do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and join this family of story lovers. It helps me keep bringing you these powerful stories. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is. You are the heartbeat of this channel, and knowing you're out there keeps these stories alive. The fluorescent lights in St. Catherine's Hospital emergency waiting room hummed like dying insects. 3:47 a.m. Rhiannon had clocked out 20 minutes ago, but she hadn't moved from the nurse's station. Something kept her there. Then she heard it, sobbing. Not the quiet kind people do in public when they're trying to hold it together. This was raw, animal grief, the sound of a man whose world had just collapsed. She found him in the corner of the waiting room, hunched over in a chair, face buried in his hands. Expensive suit wrinkled beyond recognition. Wedding ring catching the harsh light. Rhiannon knew she should walk past. Protocol was clear. Don't engage with grieving family members unless assigned. Let the counselors handle it. But something in the way he was shaking made her stop. "Hey." She sat down 2 chairs away. "Not too close. I'm Rhiannon. I'm a nurse here." The man looked up, and she had to work not to react. His eyes were swollen, almost shut, face blotchy and wet. Mid-30s, maybe. Good-looking underneath the devastation. "Is there someone I can call for you?" she asked gently. He stared at her like he didn't understand the question. Then something broke behind his eyes. "She's dead." His voice came out strangled. "My wife. The doctor came out and said there was nothing they could do. Car accident." He couldn't finish. Rhiannon moved 1 chair closer. "I'm so sorry. They said it was instant. That she didn't suffer." He looked at Rhiannon with desperate eyes. "But how do they know? How do they really know she didn't feel it? What if she was scared and I wasn't there and—" "Stop." Rhiannon's voice was firm but kind. "You can't do that to yourself." "Why not?" His laugh was bitter, broken. "I told her to hurry. We were supposed to celebrate. I got this contract, this big deal for my company. And I called her and said, 'Hurry, babe, I can't wait to see you.' So she hurried. And now she's dead because I couldn't wait 30 more minutes." The words hung in the sterile air between them. Rhiannon should have offered some platitude. Should have said it wasn't his fault. Should have gotten a counselor. Instead, she asked, what was her name? Maya. Fresh tears spilled down his face. We were married 8 months. 8 months, and I thought we'd have forever, and now. His whole body shook. Tell me about her, Rhiannon said. What? Tell me something about Maya. Something that made her Maya. The man wiped his face with his sleeve. Took a shuddering breath. She believed in me when nobody else did. I started this pharmaceutical distribution company. Everyone said I was crazy, said I'd fail. Maya worked double shifts as a teacher to help pay the rent while I built it. She'd come home exhausted and still ask about my day, still want to hear every detail about suppliers and logistics and shit that would bore anyone else to tears. He smiled through his tears. She made me believe I could actually do it. Sounds like she loved you very much. I loved her more. His voice cracked. And I'll never get to tell her that again. Rhiannon sat with him as he cried, as other families came and went, as the sun started to rise through the waiting room windows. At 6:30 a.m., he finally spoke again. I'm Garrett, by the way. Garrett Pierce. He laughed weakly. I've been sobbing on you for 3 hours and didn't even tell you my name. Grief doesn't care about introductions. Do you do this a lot? Sit with random crying strangers? First time, actually. Why me? Rhiannon didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, but it was too complicated to explain how she recognized something in his pain, how grief had its own language, and she was fluent in it. Where do you go from here? She asked instead. I have no idea. Garrett stared at his hands. I have to plan a funeral, call her parents, figure out how to keep breathing when she's not here anymore. One thing at a time. Is that what you tell all your patients? No, it's what I tell myself. Something passed between them in that moment. Recognition, maybe. Two people who understood that sometimes surviving meant breaking life down into the smallest possible pieces. Rhiannon's replacement shift nurse called her name. Time to actually go home. She stood. Take care of yourself, Garrett. Wait. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a business card with shaking hands. I don't know why, but thank you. For sitting here. For listening. Rhiannon took the card. Get some rest. She walked away thinking she'd never see him again. 3 days later, Rhiannon found herself standing in the back of Blessed Sacrament Church, watching a funeral for a woman she'd never met. She told herself she was there to make sure Garrett was okay, that it was pastoral care, an extension of her work, that it was normal. It wasn't normal, but she stayed anyway. The church smelled like lilies and furniture polish. Maya's casket sat at the altar, covered in white roses. Garrett sat in the front pew, flanked by an older woman who kept touching his shoulder. The priest said generic things about God's plan and eternal peace. Garrett stared straight ahead, not crying anymore. Just empty. After the service, people filed past the casket. Rhiannon hung back, ready to slip out unnoticed. Then Garrett turned around. Their eyes met across 50 feet of pews and strangers. His face registered surprise, then something else. Relief, maybe. He walked toward her. People parted. You came, he said. I wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm not. He said it simply, honestly. But I'm standing. That counts for something, right? His mother appeared at his elbow, gave Rhiannon a sharp look. Garrett, we need to get to the cemetery. Mom, this is Rhiannon. She's a nurse at the hospital. She sat with me that night. The older woman's expression softened slightly. Thank you for that. Then to Garrett, we need to go. I'll be right there. He turned back to Rhiannon. There's a thing at my mom's house after. Just family and close friends. You probably have better things to do, but if you wanted to, I'll come. Why did she say that? She had no idea, but the relief on his face made it feel like the right answer. The reception was exactly what Rhiannon expected. Too many casseroles. Too much small talk. People telling Garrett to stay strong. And time heals all wounds, while he nodded and smiled and slowly disintegrated inside. She found him on the back porch an hour in, staring at nothing. You okay? He laughed without humor. Everyone keeps asking me that. The answer's no, but nobody wants to hear that. So I just keep saying I'm fine. Rhiannon leaned against the railing beside him. You don't have to be fine. Feels like I do. Like if I fall apart, if I actually let myself feel how massive this is, I'll never put myself back together. Maybe you're not supposed to put yourself back together the same way. Garrett looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. You're not like other nurses. What does that mean? Most people try to make grief comfortable, manageable. You're just honest about how terrible it is. Would you prefer comforting lies? God, no. He smiled, barely, but it was there. Can I ask you something? Why did you come to the funeral? You didn't know Maya. You barely know me. Rhiannon was quiet for a long moment. The truth felt too complicated, too raw. I lost someone once, she said finally. Different circumstances. But I remember what it felt like to be surrounded by people who didn't understand, who wanted me to grieve on their timeline, in their way. I guess I didn't want you to feel that alone. Who did you lose? My best friend. Medical school. She died in her sleep from an undiagnosed heart condition. Brilliant, healthy, 26 years old. Gone. The words still hurt, even years later. Everyone kept telling me it was God's plan. Like that was supposed to make it hurt less. Garrett nodded slowly. Maya's mom said the same thing today. God needed another angel. I wanted to scream. Did you? No. I just stood there and let her hug me and told her she was right. Grief makes liars of us all. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun set behind the trees. Rhiannon. Garrett's voice was quiet. Would it be weird if I asked for your number? I'm not trying to. I just think maybe talking to someone who doesn't expect me to be okay might help. She should have said no. Should have given him the hospital's grief counselor number and maintained professional boundaries. Instead, she said, that's not weird at all. The first text came 2 weeks later. Garrett, bad day. Went to the grocery store and bought her favorite cereal without thinking. Stood in the aisle and cried like an idiot. Rhiannon, you're not an idiot. Grief ambushes you in weird places. Garrett, when does it stop? Rhiannon, it doesn't. It just gets less sharp. Eventually you can think about her, without feeling like you're drowning. Garrett, how long did it take you? With your friend. Rhiannon, 2 years before I could say her name without crying. 5 years before I could remember the good times, without the pain swallowing them whole. Garrett, that's a long time. Rhiannon, yeah. But you'll get there. The texts became regular. Then calls. Then coffee meetings where Garrett talked and Rhiannon listened, and somehow, without either of them meaning to, something shifted. 6 months after Maya's funeral, Garrett called Rhiannon at midnight. I can't sleep, he said. No greeting. Just honesty. Rhiannon rolled over in bed, checked the clock. What's going on? I keep thinking about the night she died. About that phone call. I replayed it 1,000 times, and every time I hear myself say, hurry, and I want to reach back through time and tell myself to shut up. To tell her to take her time. To tell her, his voice broke. Garrett, you can't live in that moment forever. Why not? She's stuck there, dead on a highway, because I was too impatient to wait. Rhiannon sat up, turned on the lamp. You want me to lie to you? Tell you it wasn't your fault? No. Good. Because I won't do that. She took a breath. Here's the truth. You made a phone call. You told someone you loved that you were excited to see them. That's not a crime. That's not murder. That's just life, and life is random and cruel, and sometimes people die for no good reason at all. Silence on the other end. You still there? Rhiannon asked. Yeah. Garrett's voice was thick. Nobody said it like that before. Everyone keeps trying to make it make sense. You're the only person who admits it doesn't. It doesn't. And it never will. So stop trying to find logic in chaos. Is that what you did? When your friend died? Rhiannon thought about the months after losing Sarah. The spiral. The way she destroyed herself trying to find meaning in meaninglessness. No, she admitted. I tried to make sense of it for years. Nearly destroyed my career doing it. But eventually I realized some things just are. Fighting that fact only makes it hurt worse. How'd you stop fighting? I found something else to fight for instead. Like what? Like remembering why I became a doctor in the first place. Helping people. Making something good come from all that pain. Garrett was quiet for a long moment. Can I see you? I know it's late, but I'm not okay right now. Rhiannon should have said no. Should have referred him to a professional. Should have maintained the boundaries that were already too blurred. I'll meet you at the diner on 5th, she said. 20 minutes. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Rhiannon slid into the booth across from Garrett. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same shirt he'd worn to coffee 3 days ago. When's the last time you slept? She asked. Really slept? I don't know. Weeks, maybe. He pushed a cup of cold coffee around the table. The company's falling apart. I can't focus. Can't make decisions. Everyone's looking at me like I'm about to snap. Are you? Maybe. He laughed without humor. Maya was the one who kept everything together. She believed in this stupid pharmaceutical distribution dream when I wanted to quit. She worked extra jobs so I could chase it. And now I'm watching it collapse, and I can't even care, because what's the point? She's not here to see it succeed anyway. The waitress appeared, refilled Garrett's coffee, gave Rhiannon a questioning look. Just water, thanks. When they were alone again, Rhiannon leaned forward. What do you want, Garrett? Really want? What do you mean? If Maya could see you right now, what would she want you to do? Keep the company going? Let it die? What would make her proud? Garrett stared into his coffee. She'd want me to fight for it. She'd call me a coward for giving up. Then don't give up. It's not that simple. The suppliers are backing out. They don't think I can scale production. I'm drowning in debt and I can't. He stopped, shook his head. Why am I telling you this? You're a nurse. You don't know anything about pharmaceutical distribution. Something flickered in Rhiannon's chest. A warning. A choice. Tell me about the supplier problem, she said carefully. It's complicated. Try me. So Garrett explained. The logistics, the contracts, the production schedules that weren't lining up. He talked for 20 minutes, and Rhiannon listened, her mind automatically cataloging solutions he couldn't see. She'd revolutionized pharmaceutical supply chain management. She'd built systems that hospitals across the country used. She could fix his problems in her sleep. But telling him that would mean revealing who she really was. And something in her resisted that. Some instinct that said Garrett needed to believe he could fix this himself. What if you restructured the delivery routes? She asked, phrasing it like a question instead of an answer. Consolidated the shipments regionally instead of by client. Garrett blinked. That could actually work. The overhead would drop significantly. He grabbed a napkin, started sketching. If I could show the suppliers a more efficient model, prove I can scale, he looked up at her. How did you think of that? Common sense. No, that's Rhiannon. That's actually brilliant. His eyes came alive for the first time in months. I need to run the numbers. See if it's viable. God, why didn't I see that before? Because you're too close to it, Rhiannon thought. Because grief makes you stupid. Because I've been doing this for years, and you're learning as you go. Let me know how it works out, she said instead. Garrett reached across the table, took her hand. Thank you. Not just for tonight. For everything. For showing up at the funeral. For answering my calls. For sitting here at 1 in the morning, listening to me complain about supply chains. His hand was warm. Alive. And Rhiannon realized with sudden clarity that she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She was falling for him. Not because he was healed, but because she wanted to be the one who healed him. And that, she knew, was dangerous. 3 weeks later, Garrett called her again. But this time his voice was different. Excited. It worked. The restructuring, the suppliers are back in. I pitched them the new model, and they said yes. Rhiannon, we're actually going to make it. That's amazing, Garrett. I want to celebrate. With you. Dinner. A real dinner, not a diner at midnight. Garrett, I know what you're going to say. That I'm still grieving. That it's too soon. And you're probably right. But I need to tell you something. Rhiannon's heart hammered. Okay. These last few months, you've been the only thing keeping me sane. Talking to you, seeing you. It's the only time I feel like I can breathe. And I know that's unfair. I know I'm a mess. But I can't keep pretending this is just friendship. Silence stretched between them. Say something, Garrett said quietly. I think you're confusing gratitude with feelings. I'm not. Garrett, I'm the first person who showed you kindness after the worst thing that ever happened to you. That creates a bond, but it's not. It's not what? Love. He laughed softly. Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know what I'm feeling. But I know I want to find out. With you. Every rational part of Rhiannon's brain screamed no. He was vulnerable, grieving, latching onto her because she represented safety. But the irrational part, the part that had been falling for him in diners and phone calls and quiet moments of honesty, that part wanted to say yes. One dinner, she said finally. Let's see how it goes. She could hear his smile through the phone. Saturday? 7 o'clock. Saturday. After she hung up, Rhiannon sat in her apartment staring at nothing, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Wondering if she was saving him or drowning with him. The restaurant Garrett chose was small, intimate. Candlelight and soft music, and the kind of atmosphere that made everything feel significant. He stood when she arrived, and Rhiannon barely recognized him. Clean-shaven. New suit. Eyes clear for the first time since she'd met him. You look beautiful, he said. You look alive. I feel alive. First time in months. He pulled out her chair. Thank you for coming. They ordered wine, made small talk about work and weather and everything except what they were actually doing. Finally, over the main course, Garrett set down his fork. I need to say something. Okay. I know this is complicated. I know I'm probably not ready. I know you're probably thinking I'm just looking for someone to replace Maya. And maybe part of me is. I don't know how to untangle what I'm feeling. He met her eyes. But I know that when I'm with you, the world feels less impossible. And I think that means something. Rhiannon wanted to tell him he was wrong, that he was projecting, that grief was a liar. Instead, she said, I think it means something too. Yeah. She took a breath. But Garrett, I need you to understand. I'm not going to be your savior. I'm not going to fix you or make the pain go away. If we do this, we do it honestly. No pedestals. No pretending you're healed when you're not. I can do that. Can you? Rhiannon leaned forward. Because in my experience, people who are drowning will grab onto anything that floats. And when they realize the thing can't actually save them, they let go. Is that what happened with you? After your friend died? Yes. The admission hurt. I dated someone 6 months after she died. Convinced myself it was love. It was just desperation wearing a disguise. So what makes this different? I don't know if it is different. That's what scares me. Garrett reached across the table, took her hand. Then let's find out together. Scared but honest. No bullshit. No pretending. Rhiannon looked at their intertwined fingers. At this man who'd been broken and was slowly rebuilding himself. At the choice in front of her. She could walk away. Should walk away. Protect them both from the inevitable disaster. But she didn't. Okay, she said. Scared but honest. They finished dinner. He walked her to her car. Kissed her goodnight, soft, tentative, like he was afraid she'd disappear. Driving home, Rhiannon told herself she was doing the right thing. She told herself love could grow from broken places. She told herself she wasn't making a terrible mistake. But deep down, she knew better. Deep down, she knew this story could only end one way. They fell into a relationship like people fall into water. Slowly, then all at once. Coffee dates became dinner dates, became weekends at Garrett's apartment, became keys and toothbrushes and inside jokes. Rhiannon met his mother again, this time as his girlfriend. The older woman was polite but distant. You're moving very fast, she said to Garrett when she thought Rhiannon couldn't hear. I know. She's not Maya. I know that too, Mom. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're just trying to fill the hole she left. Garrett didn't answer. And Rhiannon, standing in the hallway, felt the truth of those words like a knife. 8 months after Maya's funeral, Garrett proposed. Not with fanfare or planning. Just a quiet Sunday morning in bed. Sunlight streaming through the windows. "Marry me," he said. Rhiannon turned to look at him. "What?" "Marry me. I know it's fast. I know everyone's going to say I'm crazy. But I don't care. I love you. I want to build a life with you." "Garrett, you're going to say it's too soon. That I'm not ready. That I need more time to grieve." He sat up, took her hands. "And maybe you're right. But I've spent 8 months waiting to feel ready. And I don't think ready is coming. I think I just have to choose to move forward. With you." Rhiannon should have said no. Should have pumped the brakes. Should have demanded therapy and time and proof that he'd actually healed. But she looked at him, really looked at him, and saw someone who was trying. Someone who was fighting to live again instead of just surviving. And she thought maybe that was enough. "Ask me properly," she said. Garrett's face lit up. He scrambled off the bed, dropped to one knee right there on the bedroom floor. No ring, no speech, just him and her and a choice. "Rhiannon Moss, will you marry me?" She thought about all the reasons to say no. She said yes anyway. They got married in the hospital chapel, the same one where Garrett had screamed at God about losing Maya. His mother cried. Not happy tears. Rhiannon wore a simple white dress. No veil. No bridesmaids. Just her and Garrett and a pastor who didn't ask if they were sure. "I do," she said when her turn came. And with those 2 words, Rhiannon sealed her fate. She became Mrs. Garrett Pierce. She became the wife who would hide everything she was to let him be everything he needed. She became the woman who would build an empire in secret and watch it destroy the man she loved. But she didn't know that yet. Right now, she just kissed her husband and believed in fairy tales. Year 1 of marriage started with Rhiannon in the kitchen at midnight, laptop open, untraceable IP address running. She typed, "Cascade Capital LLC, initial investment, $500,000. Target, Pierce Pharma." Garrett slept upstairs. He had no idea his wife just became his silent partner. 3 days later, his company got an unexpected investor inquiry. Anonymous. Generous terms. No strings attached. Garrett burst through the door that evening, eyes wild with excitement. "Rhiannon, baby, you won't believe this. Someone wants to invest. $500,000. They don't even want a board seat." She was chopping vegetables. Didn't look up. "That's amazing, honey. Who are they?" "Some investment firm. Cascade Capital. I've never heard of them, but their lawyer says they believe in the company's mission." He grabbed her waist, spun her around. "This changes everything. We can finally expand. Hire more people. Land bigger contracts. I'm so proud of you." She kissed him, tasted the lie on her own lips. That night, while he celebrated with whiskey, Rhiannon made another call. "Keisha, it's Rhiannon Moss. We met at the hospital fundraiser last year. I remember. You're the nurse who asked all those smart questions about supply chain logistics. I'm calling about MediSupply. You're still their VP of acquisitions." "I am. My husband runs Pierce Pharma. Small operation, but solid. Growing fast. I think you two should meet." 6 weeks later, Garrett signed a 3-year contract with MediSupply. $2 million annually. His biggest deal ever. He came home with champagne and roses. "This is it, Rhiannon. This is what I've been working toward. Maya would be so proud." The name hit like a slap. He still invoked her ghost when success mattered. "I'm sure she would be," Rhiannon said quietly. He didn't notice the edge in her voice. He was too busy planning expansion. Year 2. Pierce Pharma moved to a bigger office. Hired 15 employees. Garrett started wearing custom suits. "You should quit the hospital," he said one morning over coffee. Rhiannon looked up from her medical journal. "What? The hospital? All those overnight shifts? You're exhausted all the time. We don't need the money anymore." "I like my job." "I know you do, baby. But think about it. You could support the business full-time. Come to networking events with me. Help me build relationships." He took her hand. "We're a team, right?" She wanted to say no. wanted to tell him she wasn't decoration for his career. But she saw something in his eyes. Something that wasn't there before. Need. Expectation. A hint of irritation that she wasn't immediately agreeing. "Let me think about it," she said. 3 months later, Rhiannon Moss submitted her resignation to St. Catherine's Hospital. Her supervisor, Dr. Patricia Wells, looked devastated. "You're one of our best. Are you sure about this?" "My husband needs me." "And what do you need?" Rhiannon didn't answer. She didn't know anymore. At the goodbye party, her colleagues hugged her, told her she'd be missed. One of them whispered, "You're making a mistake." She pretended not to hear. That night, Garrett took her to an expensive restaurant to celebrate. "This is better," he said, squeezing her hand. "Now you can focus on what really matters. Us. Building our future." "Our future," she echoed. But it didn't feel like theirs. It felt like his. Year 3. The real changes started. They were getting ready for a pharmaceutical industry gala. Rhiannon wore a navy dress. Elegant. Professional. Garrett looked her up and down. Frowned. "You're wearing that. What's wrong with it?" "It's boring. You look like someone's assistant." "I look professional." "You look forgettable." He walked to their closet, pulled out a red dress she'd never worn. Tight. Low cut. "Wear this." "Garrett, I don't." "Rhiannon." His voice had an edge now. Sharp. "These events matter. People judge me based on you. I need you to look the part." She stared at him. At this man who used to ask her opinion on everything. "And what part is that?" "Successful. Polished. Like you belong in my world." "Your world. Not our world." She took the red dress. Put it on. Hated herself for it. At the gala, Garrett introduced her to everyone. "This is my wife, Rhiannon. She used to be a nurse, but now she focuses on supporting the business." Used to be. Like her entire identity was past tense. A woman in pearls smiled. "How wonderful that you can dedicate yourself to your husband's success." Rhiannon smiled back. "Wonderful." In the bathroom, she stared at her reflection. Red dress. Perfect hair. Empty eyes. Who the hell was this person? The next morning, while Garrett golfed with investors, Rhiannon sat in her home office. She opened her laptop, checked Cascade Capital's portfolio. Pierce Pharma was thriving. Her money, her connections, her strategy. And he had no idea. She made a call. "Terrence, I need you to set up another shell company. Route it through the Caymans this time." "Another investment in Pierce Pharma?" "No. This one's insurance. Create a holding company that owns the intellectual property rights to their distribution software. Make sure the paperwork shows Pierce Pharma only has a licensing agreement. You're building a kill switch. I'm protecting my investment." She hung up. Made another call. "Simone, draft a post-nuptial agreement. Make it ironclad. Separate property. No alimony. If we divorce, he gets nothing I brought into the marriage." "Rhiannon, does Garrett know you're?" "He doesn't need to know. Not yet." One more call. To Keisha. "That Medi Supply contract? Add a clause. Annual review with termination option if certain performance metrics aren't met." "You want leverage. I want control." Because Rhiannon was learning something terrible. The man she married was disappearing. Garrett came home from golf, cheerful and buzzing. "Great day, baby. Landed a meeting with Harbor Medical. Could be huge." "That's great." She didn't look up from her book. "You okay?" "Fine. You seem distant lately." "I'm just tired." He sat beside her, took the book from her hands. "Talk to me. What's going on?" She could tell him the truth. Could say, "You're changing. You're treating me like an accessory. You invoked your dead wife's approval, but not mine." Instead, she said, "Nothing. Really. I'm just adjusting." Adjusting to what? This new life. Not working. Being home all the time. "You hate it." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." He pulled her close. "I'm sorry. I know this is a big change. But you'll find your rhythm. Maybe volunteer somewhere. Join a charity board. Something that makes you feel useful. Makes you feel useful. Like she wasn't already useful. Like she wasn't the reason his company existed. She swallowed the rage. smiled instead. Maybe. I'll think about it. That night, after he fell asleep, Rhiannon went to her office. She pulled up the files. All of them. Every investment. Every contract. Every piece of the empire she built in secret. And she started planning. Not revenge. Not yet. But preparation. Because she knew now, had known for months really, that this marriage had an expiration date. She just had to decide when to pull the pin. 3 weeks later, Garrett came home with news. I've been thinking about the company structure. We should merge everything. Put it all under one entity. Simplify the finances. Rhiannon's heart stopped. Why? Tax benefits. Easier management. My accountant suggested it. Which assets are you talking about? Everything. The company, our investments, properties. Make it all joint. She set down her wine glass carefully. I don't think that's a good idea. His face hardened. Why not? Because we should keep some things separate. For legal protection. Legal protection from what? We're married, Rhiannon. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. Except nothing is mine anymore, she thought. I gave it all up for you. I just think we should be smart about. Are you planning to divorce me? The question landed like a bomb. What? No, Garrett. Then why are you so worried about keeping things separate? He was standing now, pacing. Unless you don't trust me. Is that it? You don't trust your own husband. She could tell him. Right now. Could say, I don't trust you because you're not the man I married. Because you've turned me into a decoration. Because you say my company and my success, but never ours. Of course I trust you, she lied. Then we merge everything. Tomorrow. I'll have the lawyer draw up the papers. She wanted to fight. Wanted to scream. Wanted to burn it all down right here, right now. But she didn't. Because Rhiannon learned something in nursing. Sometimes you had to let the infection spread before you could cut it out. So she nodded. Agreed. Watched him smile with satisfaction. And that night, she made one final call. Simone, change of plans. I need everything. And I mean everything documented. Every dollar I invested. Every connection I made. Every contract I arranged. If this goes south, I want a paper trail that proves Pierce Pharma wouldn't exist without me. You're building a case. I'm building an exit strategy. Garrett was asleep when she finally came to bed. She lay beside him in the dark, listening to him breathe. And she thought, you have no idea what you've done. You have no idea what I'm capable of. You have no idea that the empire you think you built? It's mine. And when the time comes, I'll take it all back. But not yet. Not until you show me exactly who you've become. Not until you give me a reason I can live with. So she waited, watched, planned. And slowly, methodically, Rhiannon Moss became someone new. Not a wife. Not a nurse. But something far more dangerous. A woman with nothing left to lose and everything to take back. The medical fundraiser gala was held at the Grand Meridian Hotel. Crystal chandeliers. String quartet. 700 people in designer clothes pretending to care about healthcare access. Rhiannon wore the emerald dress Garrett picked. Tight enough to restrict breathing. Low enough to make her uncomfortable. Smile more, he whispered as they walked in. You look miserable. She smiled. Hated him a little more. They worked the room like politicians. Garrett shook hands, made jokes, talked about Pierce Pharma's expansion plans. Rhiannon stood beside him, nodding at appropriate moments, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. And this is my beautiful wife, Rhiannon, he said for the 20th time that night. Beautiful. Not brilliant. Not accomplished. Just beautiful. She was reaching for another glass of champagne when she heard her name. Rhiannon Moss? Is that you? She turned. Dr. Lawrence Chun, infectious disease specialist. She'd worked with him years ago on a hospital protocol redesign. Dr. Chun, it's been a while. 5 years at least. He smiled warmly. I heard you left St. Catherine's. Shame. You had real talent for systems thinking. Garrett's hand tightened on her waist. I'm sorry, do you two know each other? We work together, Rhiannon said quickly. Briefly. Briefly. Dr. Chun laughed. Rhiannon practically rewrote our emergency intake protocols. Cut wait times by 40%. The administration tried to take credit, but everyone knew it was her. Garrett's smile didn't reach his eyes. Really? My wife never mentioned that. Oh, she was too modest. Always was. Dr. Chun turned to Rhiannon. Are you still doing medical systems consulting? Last I heard, you were presenting at conferences. The air left the room. Conferences. Garrett's voice was ice. The Healthcare Innovation Summit in Boston. 3 years ago, your presentation on trauma care optimization was brilliant. Changed how we think about resource allocation. Rhiannon felt Garrett's fingers dig into her side. I think you have me confused with someone else, she said softly. Dr. Chun frowned. No, I'm certain it was you. You published a paper too. Journal of Emergency Medicine. I cited it in my own research. Dr. Chun, it was lovely seeing you. Rhiannon's voice was barely steady. We should catch up another time. She pulled Garrett toward the exit before the doctor could say anything else. They didn't speak in the elevator. Didn't speak walking through the parking garage. Didn't speak until they were in the car, doors closed, alone. What the hell was that? Garrett's voice was quiet, deadly. Nothing. He confused me with someone else. Don't lie to me. He started the engine. Pulled out too fast. Conferences? Publish papers? Systems consulting. Garrett. Who are you? She stared out the window. Watched the city lights blur. I'm your wife. That's not what I asked. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I asked who you are. Because apparently I don't know. You never asked. The words slipped out. She regretted them immediately. Garrett slammed the brakes. They were on a side street now. Empty. Dark. What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't mean. You never asked? He turned to face her. I never asked? You lied to me, Rhiannon. For years. Maybe think you were just some nurse who... Just some nurse. She laughed bitterly. That's what you think of me? That's what you've always thought. That's what you told me you were. No. You assumed. You saw Scrubs and made up your mind about who I was. And I let you because you needed someone simple. Someone who wouldn't threaten you. Threaten me? What the hell does that mean? It means you liked me better when I was small. The words exploded out. When I was the sad little nurse at your wife's hospital. When I quit my job to support your dreams. When I wore the dresses you picked and smiled at your events and pretended I had no ambitions of my own. I never asked you to do that. You didn't have to ask. You just expected it. She was crying now. Angry tears. You expected me to shrink so you could grow. And I did. I made myself smaller and smaller until I almost disappeared. If you were so unhappy, why didn't you say something? Because I loved you. Her voice cracked. Because I thought if I just supported you enough, if I just made you successful enough, you'd eventually see me. Really see me. But you never did. Garrett stared at her. I see you every day. No. You see what you want to see. A pretty accessory. A supportive wife. Someone who exists to make you look good. That's not fair. You called me just some nurse. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. Silence filled the car like poison gas. Then Garrett spoke. Soft. Cold. You embarrassed me tonight. Making me look like I don't even know my own wife. I embarrassed you? That doctor talked about you like you're someone important. Someone accomplished. And I'm standing there like an idiot because my own wife never told me. Would you have married me if you knew? The question hung between them. Garrett didn't answer. And that non-answer was answer enough. Rhiannon reached for the door handle. Where are you going? I need air. We're in the middle of... She got out. Started walking. Garrett followed. Grabbed her arm. Spun her around. Don't walk away from me when we're talking. Let go. Not until you explain. I said let go. She yanked her arm free. Stumbled backward. Her heel caught on the curb. And that's when it happened. Garrett's hand flew out. Not to steady her. To punish her. His fist connected with her face. The impact was sharp. Sudden. World-ending. Rhiannon's head snapped back. She tasted copper. Blood. Time stopped. Garrett's face went white. Oh my God. Rhiannon. I didn't, baby. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. She touched her lip. Blood on her fingers. Something inside her died. Something else woke up. Take me home. Rhiannon, please. I'm so sorry. I lost control. That will never happen again. I swear. Take me home. They drove in silence. Absolute. Complete. When they pulled into the driveway, Rhiannon got out without a word. Garrett followed her inside. Desperate now. Please talk to me. Yell at me. Hit me back. Something. Don't just. She walked past him. Up the stairs. Into their bedroom. The mirror. The one she'd stumbled into in the hook. It wasn't cracked yet. That was a flash forward. A glimpse of what would come. But her face, that was real. Lip split. Jaw already swelling. Garrett appeared in the doorway. Let me get you ice. Let me. She turned to look at him. Really look at him. And smiled. What's so funny? His voice shook. Rhiannon walked to the nightstand. Opened the drawer. Pulled out her phone. Rhiannon, I'm sorry. Baby, I didn't mean. She held up one finger. Silence. Then she made a call. Terrence, execute Protocol 7. Garrett's face went pale. What the hell is Protocol 7? Rhiannon ended the call. Made another. Simone? He hit me. Yes. Draw them up tonight. Who are you calling? Rhiannon, answer me. Third call. Keisha? That contract you gave Pierce Pharma? Pull it. She hung up. Looked at him. Really looked at him. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and discover who I actually am. And by tomorrow night, you'll have nothing. Sleep well, Garrett. She walked past him. Down the hall. Locked herself in the guest room. And for the first time in 3 years, Rhiannon Moss felt free. Morning came too fast. Rhiannon woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. Guest room. Right. She'd locked herself in here after the calls. Her face throbbed. She touched her jaw gently. Still swollen. Good. She needed the reminder of what he'd become. She showered. Dressed in jeans and a sweater. Her clothes, not the ones Garrett picked. Applied minimal makeup. Let the bruise show. When she walked into the kitchen, Garrett was already there. Coffee made. Eggs scrambled. Looking like a man who hadn't slept. Morning, he said quietly. I made breakfast. She didn't respond. Poured herself coffee. Rhiannon, about last night. The doorbell rang. Garrett frowned. Who's that at 8 in the morning? You should answer it. He looked at her. Something in her expression made him move. She heard voices at the door. Male. Professional. Then Garrett's confused tone. I don't understand. Who are you? Terrence Whitfield, attorney at law. And this is Simone Garcia, also representing Mrs. Pierce. May we come in? Rhiannon appeared in the hallway. Let them in, Garrett. 2 people entered. Terrence, tall, black, impeccably dressed. Simone, Latina, sharp-eyed, carrying a briefcase. What's going on? Garrett's voice climbed. Have a seat, Rhiannon said. We need to talk. They sat at the dining table. Garrett looked between the lawyers and his wife like he'd entered a nightmare. Terrence opened his briefcase. Pulled out a folder. Mr. Pierce, I'm here on behalf of my client, Rhiannon Moss Pierce, to inform you of several legal and financial matters that require your immediate attention. Legal matters? What are you? Let him finish, Rhiannon said calmly. Terrence slid a document across the table. This is a complete accounting of Cascade Capital, LLC, a private investment firm founded and wholly owned by your wife. Garrett picked up the paper. Read. Blinked. Read again. This says Cascade invested $500,000 in my company. Correct. But Cascade is... He looked at Rhiannon. You. Me. That's impossible. You didn't have that kind of money. Actually, I did. Rhiannon sipped her coffee. Before we met, I developed a trauma care protocol that 17 hospitals licensed. Made me $3 million. I've been very good at investing it. Garrett's hands shook. Why would you hide that from me? Because I wanted to see if you'd love me, without it. She set down her cup. Turns out, you loved me better when you thought I was poor. Simone slid another document forward. This is documentation of every contract, connection, and business opportunity your wife arranged for Pierce Pharma over the past 5 years. Garrett scanned the pages. His face went ashen. MediSupply, Harbor Medical, the distribution contracts. These were all me, Rhiannon finished. Every single major deal you've ever closed, I made the introduction, vouched for you, called in favors. Why? Because I believed in you. Past tense. Deliberate. I thought if I built you up, you'd see me as an equal. Instead, you started treating me like property. Terrence slid a third document across. This outlines the intellectual property structure of Pierce Pharma's distribution software. Garrett read. Stopped breathing. This says Pierce Pharma doesn't own the software. That we're licensing it from a holding company I created, Rhiannon said. You have a licensing agreement, which I can terminate at any time. You can't do that. The entire company runs on that software. I can. And if you read the fine print, you'll see the license expires in 30 days unless I renew it. Garrett stood, paced, ran his hands through his hair. I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Why now? Rhiannon pointed to her bruised face. Because you hit me. Silence. And because you spent 3 years making me smaller so you could feel bigger. Because you invoked your dead wife's approval of your success, but never asked for mine. Because you called me just some nurse and looked relieved when you thought I had no accomplishments of my own. Rhiannon, I'm sorry. I'll change. I don't want you to change. Her voice was steady, final. I want you to understand what you destroyed. Simone slid the final document forward. Divorce papers. Already filed. No fault. Clean separation. Garrett looked like he'd been shot. You're divorcing me? I already did. Filed this morning. These are just your copies. But we can fix this. Counseling. Therapy. I'll do whatever. Do you know what Protocol 7 is? Rhiannon interrupted. He shook his head. It's a term from my nursing days. When a patient is brain dead but their heart's still beating, you have to make the call to withdraw life support. Protocol 7 means you've decided to stop sustaining something that's already dead. She stood, walked to where he sat slumped in the chair. Our marriage died a long time ago, Garrett. I've just been on life support, hoping it would come back. Last night, you hit me, and I realized I was trying to save something that didn't want to be saved. I love you. You love the idea of me, the version that makes you feel successful and important. But you never loved the real me, because you never bothered to find out who that was. Terrence stood. Mr. Pierce, the MediSupply contract will be terminated effective immediately. The software license expires in 30 days. Cascade Capital is divesting all holdings in Pierce Pharma. You have 2 weeks to find replacement investors or the company will fold. Garrett's face crumbled. You're destroying everything I built. Rhiannon leaned down, spoke softly. No, Garrett, I'm taking back everything I built. You just didn't realize it was never yours to begin with. She straightened, looked at the lawyers. We're done here. They gathered their papers, headed for the door. Garrett's voice stopped them. Where will you go? Rhiannon turned back one last time. Somewhere you never thought to ask about. Somewhere I've always been, but you never bothered to look. She walked out, left him sitting at the table with divorce papers and the smoking ruins of the empire he thought he'd built. And as she drove away from that house, that life, that version of herself, Rhiannon felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Before we continue, I need to ask, have you ever made yourself smaller for someone else? If Rhiannon's story resonates with you, drop a comment saying, I see you, Rhiannon. And hit subscribe. Your story matters too. Now, let's see what happens next. 18 months later, St. Catherine's Hospital looked different in daylight. Rhiannon had spent so many years here working night shifts, she'd forgotten how sun streamed through the lobby windows at noon. Dr. Moss. A young nurse approached. They're ready for you in the conference room. Dr. Moss. Not Mrs. Pierce. Not just Rhiannon. She'd reclaimed her identity 1 degree at a time. First her maiden name, then her credentials. Finally, her voice. The hospital board sat around a mahogany table. 7 faces. Some she knew, some she didn't. "Ms. Moss, thank you for coming," the board chair said. "We've reviewed your proposal for the Innovation Director position." Rhiannon sat, folded her hands, waited. "It's ambitious. A complete overhaul of our trauma protocols. $15 million in new equipment. Staff retraining. Facility upgrades. It's necessary," she said simply. "St. Catherine's Trauma Wing is operating on 20-year-old systems. We're losing patients we could save. And you're willing to fund half of this personally? $7.5 million. Yes." One board member leaned forward. "Why? Why come back here? Why invest this much?" Rhiannon looked at him. Really looked. "Because this hospital saved me once. Now I want to help it save others." They voted unanimously. She started the following Monday. The trauma wing renovation took 6 months. Rhiannon worked 16-hour days, collaborated with architects, trained staff, redesigned intake protocols. She was in the new equipment room when Dr. Patricia Wells found her. "Rhiannon, you have a minute." Her old supervisor, the one who'd looked devastated when she quit. "Dr. Wells, of course. I heard about the donation. What you're doing here." Patricia's eyes were wet. "I'm proud of you. For coming back. For rebuilding. Thank you. And I'm sorry for not fighting harder when you left. I knew you were making a mistake. I should have said something." Rhiannon touched her arm gently. "I wasn't ready to hear it then, but I appreciate you saying it now." They stood their moment. 2 women who understood what it meant to lose yourself and fight to come back. The divorce was finalized 3 months after she left. Garrett tried calling, texting, showing up at places he thought she'd be. She ignored all of it. Her lawyers handled everything. Clean split. No alimony. No property disputes. She took what was hers. Left him with nothing. Pierce Pharma folded within 8 weeks. Without the Medi-Supply contract, without the software license, without Cascade Capital's backing, the company hemorrhaged money. Garrett tried to find new investors. But Rhiannon's reputation in the medical industry was ironclad. One quiet word from her, and doors closed. She didn't have to destroy him publicly. She just had to step back and let the house of cards collapse. Last she heard, he'd moved back in with his mother, taken a sales job at a competitor's firm, started therapy. She hoped to help. She really did. But it wasn't her problem anymore. The new trauma wing opened on a Tuesday. Rhiannon stood in the lobby, watching families come and go. Some crying, some hopeful, all desperate for someone to save the person they loved. She remembered being that desperate once, sitting in an ER waiting room at 4 a.m., trying to save a stranger who was drowning in grief. That stranger had become her husband, her prison, her lesson. Impressive work. She turned. A man stood behind her, early 40s, warm eyes, scrubs that said he actually worked here. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "Terrence Whitfield. My sister's in ICU. Car accident. Your new protocols saved her life." He extended his hand. "I wanted to say thank you." Rhiannon shook it. "I'm glad we could help. The nurses said you designed the whole system, that you fought the board for funding. Someone had to." He smiled. "You're being modest. I'm being honest." They stood there. Comfortable silence. No expectations. No performance. "Can I buy you coffee?" Terrence asked. "As a thank you. Just coffee. Nothing weird." Rhiannon hesitated. Old instinct screamed, "Run. Protect yourself. Don't let anyone in." But new instincts whispered, "Maybe." Carefully, with eyes open. "Just coffee. Just coffee." "Okay." They walked to the hospital cafeteria. Terrible coffee. Fluorescent lights. Plastic chairs. It was perfect. "So what do you do?" Rhiannon asked. "When you're not visiting your sister?" "I'm an attorney. Corporate law mostly." She almost laughed. Of course. The universe had a sense of humor. "What's funny?" "Nothing. Just My ex-husband had lawyers. I'm a little wary of the profession. Fair. Terrence sipped his coffee. For what it's worth, I help companies follow regulations. Make sure they're treating people fairly. Not exactly glamorous. Sounds honest. I try to be. They talked for an hour. About his sister's recovery. About Rhiannon's work. About everything and nothing. He didn't ask about her past. Didn't pry. Didn't try to fix her. He just listened. When his phone buzzed, "I see you update," he stood. I should go. But this was nice. It was. Maybe we could do it again? When things calmed down. Rhiannon thought about it. Really thought. She could say no. Stay safe. Stay alone. Or she could try. Slowly. Carefully. With someone who saw her and didn't try to shrink her. Maybe, she said. Ask me in a month. When your sister's better. Terrence smiled. I'll hold you to that. He left. Rhiannon sat alone with terrible coffee and something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility. That night, she drove to a place she'd been avoiding. The hospital chapel, where she'd married Garrett 5 years ago. The same wooden pews. Same stained glass. Same quiet. She sat in the back row, where she'd sat at Maya's funeral, where everything started. I'm sorry, she whispered to no one. To Maya's ghost. To her own past self. I'm sorry I tried to replace what you had. I'm sorry I thought I could save him. I'm sorry I lost myself trying. The chapel stayed silent. No absolution. No answers. But somehow that was okay. She sat there for an hour, letting go of things she'd been holding too tight. The fantasy of who Garrett could have been. The guilt of what she'd done to him. The shame of staying too long. When she finally stood to leave, she felt lighter. Not healed. Not whole. But healing. Becoming. She walked out of that chapel and didn't look back. 3 weeks later, Terrence called. My sister's being discharged tomorrow. She's going to be okay. That's wonderful news. Which means I owe you coffee. Real coffee. Not hospital cafeteria sludge. Rhiannon smiled. You remembered. I did. So what do you say? Saturday afternoon? There's a place downtown that supposedly has the best espresso in the city. She could say no. Could stay safe in her rebuilt life. But she'd spent 5 years playing it safe. Making herself small. Hiding who she was. She was done with that. Saturday works. Great. I'll pick you up at 2. Actually, I'll meet you there. Text me the address. A pause. Then understanding in his voice. Of course. I'll send it now. When they hung up, Rhiannon looked at herself in the mirror. Different person than 5 years ago. Different than 18 months ago. Stronger. Scarred. Honest. She'd burned down her old life. Built a new one from ash. And now she was ready to see what she could create without apologizing for taking up space. Saturday came. The coffee shop was small. Brick walls. Local art. The kind of place Garrett would have hated. Terrence was already there. He stood when she arrived. Smiled. You came. I said I would. They ordered coffee, real coffee, and found a corner table. So, he said, tell me about the innovation director job. What's next for St. Catherine's? And Rhiannon talked. About her plans. Her vision. Her passion for systems that saved lives. Terrence listened. Asked questions. Challenged her ideas respectfully. Never once did he interrupt to talk about himself. Never once did he make her feel like she was too much. When she finished, he leaned back. You're remarkable. You know that. I'm just doing the work. No. You're changing the world. One protocol at a time. She felt tears sting. No one had said that in years. No one had seen her work and called it what it was. Important. Valuable. Hers. Thank you, she whispered. They talked for 3 hours. About medicine. Law. Books. Terrible movies. His childhood in Atlanta. Her parents in Seattle. When they finally left, the sun was setting. Can I walk you to your car? Terrence asked. I'd like that. They walked slowly. No rush. No pressure. At her car, he stopped. I had a really good time today. Me too. Can I see you again? Rhiannon looked at him. This kind man who asked instead of assumed, who listened instead of lectured. Yes, but I need you to know something first. Okay, I'm still figuring out who I am. After my marriage, after everything. I'm not looking for someone to complete me, or save me, or fix me. Good. Because I'm not looking for a project. I'm looking for a partner. The word hit different. Partner. Equal. Not decoration. Not support system. Partner. Then yes, she said. Let's see where this goes. He smiled. Didn't try to kiss her. Didn't push for more. Just smiled and said, I'll call you tomorrow. And he did. They dated slowly, carefully, honestly. Dinner dates became weekend hikes, became keys exchanged after 6 months. Terence met her at the hospital for lunch, came to board meetings when she presented new initiatives, celebrated her victories like they were his own. And when she had bad days, when grief or doubt or old fears crept in, he didn't try to fix her. He just sat with her, held space, reminded her she was allowed to be human. One night, a year after their first coffee, they were in her apartment. I love you, Terence said. Rhiannon froze. The words she'd been terrified to hear. You don't have to say it back, he added quickly. I just wanted you to know. No pressure. No expectations. She looked at this man who'd shown up consistently, who'd never asked her to be smaller, who celebrated every part of who she was. I love you too, she said. And that terrifies me. Why? Because last time I loved someone, I lost myself. Terence took her hands. Then we'll make sure that doesn't happen. We'll check in, communicate, build something different, something honest. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's worth trying. And so they did. Built something new, something equal, something real. Rhiannon didn't lose herself this time. She found herself, and let someone love her while she did. 2 years after the divorce, Rhiannon stood in the new trauma wing, watching paramedics rush in a car accident victim. Her protocols in action, her systems saving lives. Dr. Moss, a nurse approached. There's someone in the lobby asking for you. Who? He didn't give a name, just said it's important. Rhiannon's stomach tightened. She already knew. Garrett stood by the windows, thinner than she remembered, gray at the temples, suit off the rack instead of custom-tailored. He looked up when she approached, flinched at whatever he saw in her face. Hi, he said quietly. You shouldn't be here. I know. I'm sorry. I needed to see you. Why? He gestured around the lobby. I heard about this place. What you built. The donation. The innovation wing. It's all over the medical news. And I realized I never knew you at all. His voice cracked. I was married to you for 5 years, and I never knew who you really were. Rhiannon crossed her arms. What do you want, Garrett? Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. You said that 2 years ago. I know. But I didn't understand it then. I was just sorry I got caught. Sorry I lost everything. He looked at the floor. Now I'm sorry for what I did to you. For making you invisible. For hitting you. For all of it. Silence stretched between them. I'm in therapy, he continued. 3 times a week. Working through everything. My grief over Maya. My control issues. The violence. He finally met her eyes. I know it doesn't change anything. But I wanted you to know I'm trying. Good. I hope it helps. It does. Slowly. He hesitated. Can we sit? Just for a minute. Rhiannon almost said no. Almost walked away. But she saw something in him. Something broken that was trying to heal. She sat. He sat across from her. I saw the engagement announcement, Garrett said. You and Terence Whitfield. Congratulations. Thank you. Does he know? About me? About what I did? He knows everything. And he still wants to marry you? He wants to marry me. Because he knows everything. Because I didn't hide who I was. Garrett nodded slowly. That's good. That's how it should be. They sat in uncomfortable silence. I lost everything, he said finally. The company. The house. My reputation. I'm working sales now. renting a one-bedroom apartment, starting over from nothing. I know. You kept tabs on me? No. But it's a small industry. Word travels. He laughed bitterly. I bet it does. The guy who built an empire on his wife's money and didn't even know it. You could have built something real, Rhiannon said. If you'd just been honest. If you'd seen me as a partner instead of an accessory. I know. Do you? Because I gave you everything, Garrett. My money, my connections, my identity. And you took it all and made me feel like I should be grateful you let me stand next to you. I was scared. Of what? Of you. He looked at her. From the moment I met you, I knew you were extraordinary. And I was just me. Some guy with a failing company and a dead wife. I thought if you knew how smart you were, how capable, you'd leave. So you made sure I never found out? I made sure you needed me. And that's unforgivable. Rhiannon sat back, processing. You're right, she said. It is unforgivable. I know. But I forgive you anyway. Garrett's eyes widened. What? Not for you. For me. She stood. I spent 2 years carrying anger like armor. It protected me, kept me safe, but it also kept me small. And I'm done being small. I don't deserve your forgiveness. This isn't about what you deserve. It's about what I need. She looked down at him. I need to let you go. Really let you go. And I can't do that while I'm still holding onto what you did. Garrett stood. Rhiannon, I hope you heal. I hope you find someone who sees you and you see them back. I hope you build something real. She extended her hand. Goodbye, Garrett. He took her hand, shook it. Goodbye. She walked away, didn't look back. And for the first time since she'd met him 6 years ago, Garrett Pierce was truly in her past. That evening, Terrence picked her up from the hospital. Rough day, he asked, reading her face. Garrett showed up. Terrence's jaw tightened. Do I need to? No. It's okay. We talked. It's done. They drove in comfortable silence. He didn't push. Just gave her space. Where are we going? She asked when he turned toward downtown. You'll see. He pulled up to the hospital chapel. Rhiannon stared at the building. Why are we here? Because you told me this is where you married him. Where you lost yourself. He turned to face her. I wanted to give you new memories. Her eyes stung. Terrence. Come on. They walked inside. The same wooden pews. Same stained glass. Same quiet. But everything felt different. Terrence took her hand. I know you said you wanted a long engagement. Time to plan a real wedding. And we will. But I was thinking about what you told me. About how you rushed into marriage with him. How you never had a moment that was just yours. Okay, so I wanted to give you a moment. Not a wedding. Not a promise. Just a moment where you can stand in this place and know you're choosing yourself first. Rhiannon looked around. At the chapel that had witnessed her worst decision. Her biggest mistake. I choose myself, she whispered. Good. Because I don't want someone who needs me. I want someone who chooses me. Whole. Complete. Free. She turned to face him. You're a good man, Terrence Whitfield. You're a remarkable woman, Rhiannon Moss. He pulled a small box from his pocket. This isn't a proposal. You already said yes. This is just a promise. That when we do get married, it'll be on your terms. At your pace. With your name, whichever name you choose to use. He opened the box. A simple silver band. Engraved with words, always enough. Always enough? She asked. You told me once that Garrett made you feel like you were never enough. Smart enough. Pretty enough. Small enough. I wanted you to know you're always enough. Exactly as you are. Rhiannon took the ring. Slipped it on her right hand. Thank you. They stood there together in the chapel. Not married. Not broken. Just two whole people choosing to build something honest. 6 months later. The wedding was small. 30 people. Rhiannon's parents. Terrence's family. Close friends. Dr. Wells. A few colleagues. No bridesmaids. No groomsmen. No performance. Just a ceremony in a garden overlooking the Sound. Rhiannon wore a simple cream dress. Her choice. Her style. When the officiant asked who gave this woman Her father stood. She gives herself. Rhiannon smiled. Perfect. The vows were simple, honest. Promises they'd already been keeping. I promise to see you, Terrence said. Really see you. Every day. I promise to stay whole, Rhiannon said. To never lose myself again. They exchanged rings. Kissed. Became partners. Not Mr. and Mrs. anything. Just Rhiannon and Terrence. Equal. Honest. Free. The reception was at her apartment. Wine. Music. Stories. Dr. Wells pulled her aside. I'm proud of you. For building yourself back. Thank you for not giving up on me. I never could. Terrence's sister, the one from the ICU, approached with a glass of champagne. Thank you again. For saving my life. For giving me my brother back. You did the surviving. I just helped with the science. Still, I'm glad you're family now. Family. The word settled warm in Rhiannon's chest. Later, when everyone had left and it was just the two of them, Terrence found her on the balcony. Happy, he asked. Yeah, I really am. He wrapped his arms around her. They stood watching the city lights. Can I ask you something? Rhiannon said. Anything. Do you think marriages can be different? That they can be partnerships instead of whatever I had before? I think our marriage will be exactly what we make it. No more. No less. He kissed her temple. And we're going to make it honest. Promise. Promise. They stayed there as the night deepened. Two whole people. Building something real. 1 year later, Rhiannon got a letter. Hospital Administration letterhead. She opened it in her office. Dear Dr. Moss, we are pleased to inform you that the St. Catherine's trauma protocols you developed have been adopted by 15 hospitals nationwide. Your work is saving an estimated 400 lives per year. We would like to invite you to present your research at the National Emergency Medicine Conference in Boston this fall. Boston, where she presented 3 years ago, where Dr. Chun had recognized her at the gala. Full circle. She called Terrence. They want me to present in Boston. National Conference. That's amazing. Are you going? I think so. Will you come with me? Wouldn't miss it. The conference was in October. 200 physicians. Rhiannon's presentation was on the main stage. She stood at the podium, looked at the crowd, and felt nothing but pride. Good morning. I'm Dr. Rhiannon Moss, Director of Innovation at St. Catherine's Hospital. Today, I want to talk about systematic approaches to trauma care that prioritize both efficiency and humanity. She spoke for 40 minutes, fielded questions, shared data. When she finished, the room stood and applauded. Dr. Chun found her afterward. Brilliant work. I knew you were special the first time we met. Thank you for remembering me, for saying something that night. Did it cause problems? Rhiannon smiled. It caused a revolution. That evening, she and Terrence walked through Boston Common. I'm proud of you, he said. For what? For not hiding. For standing on that stage and owning every part of who you are. It feels good, being visible. You were always visible. Some people just refused to see you. They walked in comfortable silence. Do you ever regret it? Terrence asked. The marriage to Garrett? The years you lost? Rhiannon thought about it. Really thought. No, because those years taught me who I am, what I'm worth, what I'll never accept again. She squeezed his hand. I had to lose myself to learn how to find myself. That's one way to look at it. It's the only way I can live with it. They stopped at a bench. Saturday. You know what's funny? Rhiannon said. When I married Garrett, I thought marriage was about sacrifice. About making yourself smaller so the other person could grow. About loving someone so much you disappear. And now I know marriage is about expansion. About two whole people making each other bigger. About loving someone while staying visible. Terrence pulled her close. We're doing pretty good at that. We really are. 3 years after the wedding, Rhiannon sat in the hospital chapel. Not the one where she married Garrett. The one at St. Catherine's. The one she'd helped fund. Terrence sat beside her. Your sister's surgery went well, she said. Recovery looks good. Thanks to you. Again. thanks to the team. He smiled. You still can't take a compliment. I'm working on it. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind only possible between people who truly saw each other. Can I tell you something? Rhiannon said. Always. I used to think this chapel was where I made my biggest mistake. Marrying Garrett. Losing myself. And now I think it was just the beginning of a longer story. One that had to break me before I could rebuild stronger. Terence took her hand. Some marriages are cathedrals. Others are just hospitals where you learn which wounds can heal and which ones require amputation. Rhiannon looked at him. Did you just quote something philosophical? I'm trying it out. How'd I do? She laughed. Real laughter. Free laughter. You did good. They sat together in that chapel. 2 whole people. Building a life. And Rhiannon thought, this is what I was meant to find. Not someone to complete her, but someone to witness her completion. Not someone to save her, but someone to celebrate her saving herself. She burned down her old life, built a new one from ash. And finally, she was free. And that's Rhiannon's story. If you've ever made yourself smaller for someone else, this is your permission to stop. You don't need anyone's approval to be whole. Subscribe if this resonated with you, and drop a comment telling me what you learned. Remember, some marriages are prisons. Some are partnerships. Choose wisely. I'll see you in the next story.